99.3 Nigeria Info. This is the nation's #1 talk news and sports radio station. 11 minutes gone past the 5 o'clock hour. Welcome to the Big Hard Facts. Today, we're still obviously looking at Mr. President's midterm assessment. Yesterday, we had the presidential spokesman in the studio. Today, we're being joined by the former presidential candidate for the Social Democratic Party, SDP. Join us via Zoom. We're going to be obviously getting his perspective on Mr. President's performance in the past 2 years. He's in the person of Prince Adewole Adebayo, Esquire. He's actually a lawyer. It's so good to have you join us, Mr. Adebayo. Thank you so much for joining us on Hard Facts.
Thank you.
Great. I know that for someone who's been who ran for the same office that Mr. President occupies today, you would obviously have a lot to say about how this government has performed. But let's start with the general overview. What can you really place your finger on off the top of your head? Say that this government has accomplished one good thing that you can say that they've done that you applaud, before we go into brick by brick what they promised and if they've been able to keep it.
Well, they've managed to worsen the poverty for the people, and they've managed to heat up the economy with inflation. They've managed to mismanage 2 budgets, and they've not delivered on any of their mandates. And they said that if they don't give us electricity in 4 years, we should vote them out. They have not given us 1% increase in electricity. So we are sure likely not to get that electricity from them. So because they need more than 4 years to even get to where they ought to have gotten to by now. So we thank God that the country is still safe and the government is still in place. But the security situation across the country is worsening. Crimes have increased in the south, and banditry and insecurity have increased in the north. The east is under unknown gunmen and those types, and the west is under marauders, kidnappers, and ritual killers. So in the center is communal clashes and mass murders. So there is nothing in reality that recommends this government as a proper government of the people.
Yesterday, Mr. Sunday Dare, who was a spokesperson to the president on communication and media, did say that there's several reforms that the president has put in place, including the removal of subsidy, that is going to help to better the loss of the average Nigerian. Now, the timeline was not given, but for someone who has worked in the oil and gas sector, they made promises to Nigerians that, this subsidy removal would be the end of our problems, but it looks like it's the beginning of all our problems. What do you have to say about that?
I don't think they made any promise. They only threatened that they will remove subsidy, and they did. But they didn't promise anything will come out of it. They only gave reasons why subsidy should be removed. And we said those reasons are not good enough. And the implication of removing them, as described by us, is exactly what is happening now. So he didn't make any serious promise, because I don't consider grab it, snatch it, and run away with it. That's not a promise, that's a threat. And Bala Bulu Bulaba, it's not a promise, that's a joke. So it is people who went to vote for them that will explain what they had them say when they voted for them. They only said it was their turn, it be local. So there are no promises given, no promises broken. But there were threats of what they will do with the power, and they have carried out some of the threats. And the threats have led to worsening the economy, worsening poverty, joblessness, and there's no accountability for any of these things.
Let's talk more. Let's stay with the NNPCL. Now, you've been obviously watching what's been happening with the NNPCL. I've always asked every opportunity I have why the NNPCL seems to be shrouded in so much secrecy. If we as Nigerians are ever going to get a clear picture of what's happening in the petroleum sector. Now, of course, we hear that the Port Harcourt refinery is going to be shut down yet again for another, maintenance. And of course, that's going to cost taxpayers money. We're looking at productivity and output. And I remember that just before the year 2023 came to an end, not even a dime was, put in the coffers of Nigeria by the NNPC. And here we are. We're still uncertain how much petrol we consume as a country on a daily basis. And now that we also have had the Mele Kyari administration taken out of place, and then the EFCC saying they're doing some sort of investigation, one would wonder, is there a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of our petroleum sector?
Well, there is no secrecy in NNPCL. If there's a secrecy at all, it's an open secret. What we have is silence, not secrets. We know money is missing there. We know they are stealing crude. We know they exaggerated the cost of the turnaround maintenance of the refineries. We know that they are exaggerating the progress. We know that they are funding politics with NNPC money. We know that the money they were supposedly saved from subsidy has been diverted elsewhere. So it is the job to Nigerian media to stop covering oil and gas story in the Senate and cover unaccountability issues. So these are open secrets. There's no secret there, but there's no emphasis. You are the first journalist to ask me a question about it in the last 35 interviews. They ask me a question about every other thing, but not pertaining to things that matter. So it's good that at least there's a journalist who remembers that NNPCL is government owned and that they've been stealing the money and they've not been telling us what they are doing, and they are spending billions of dollars. And the records are there. NNPCL publishes accounts. I've seen some of the accounts. The paper on which these accounts are published are not enough for you to shed tears, to wipe your eyes when you are shedding tears. But it is for the media to analyze them and to hold colloquium on them and allow us to come and speak on them. But I've been shouting since. During the last campaign, I was the one shouting to Nigerians that 80% of the crude oil was being stolen. Now you see the government, they were arguing with me at that time. Now they are giving reports that they've reduced the stealing of crude. They haven't said they've eliminated it. So it's an open secret. It's just that Nigerians, we want to be like ostriches, bury our head in the sand and pretend that we're not being robbed in daylight.
Let's talk. You mentioned insecurity when we started the conversation, obviously, because it seems to be the elephant in the room. Most recent is the bomb that went off in Abuja, and we hear it was a suicide bombing, even though, thank goodness, not anyone was hit. I think somebody was hit, but then it was just mild injuries and not necessarily somebody killed. And the question that's been playing in my head is this the start of something bigger? Because there's a terrible statistic that I got 2 weeks ago when a security analyst came in with data. The number of people killed on a daily basis across the country is alarming. The number of people that are being kidnapped across the country is alarming. And yet government tells us that they're on top of the fight against insecurity. I saw Nuhu Ribadu the other day telling Nigerians to rise up. And I'm wondering, rise up to do exactly what? He also said that enough is enough. But then people were killed and buried in mass graves in Plateau State. Same thing is happening in, Benue and several other parts of the country. Why do you think that the government of Tinubu has not been able to redeem its promise in fighting terrorism across the country?
Because for you to discharge your obligations as a government, you have to form a proper government that is focused on the problems. You have to define the problems you have to solve, and you have to recruit personnel that are committed to that. And every ounce of energy you have has to be used to solve that problem. They are not on top of the situation, they are on top of the money. That's what they are on top of.
What do you mean? What do you mean by the on top of? What do you mean, sir? So what do you mean by the on top of the money?
The security apparatus of Nigeria is focused on who controls the security money. So that's why people jostle for the apex. Who is the national security advisor? Who are the heads of the security agencies, the armed forces, police, and the intelligence agencies? So, and people in government know that that's an avenue to access a lot of resources that you don't have to account for in a conventional way. And if you look at natural resources, the human resources, you will see deployment and misdeployment of security personnel. If to attend to VIPs, to attend to other things that don't matter, you will find a lot of the security personnel not properly equipped, but you will find them on your street where crime is low, but they will come there and be harassing motorists to collect money. So it's use of money, it's use of time, it's use of personnel, and it's use of intelligence. Those are the things that are leading to this state of insecurity.
Are you blaming our? Is this blame on the top military brass, because you're talking about misuse of intelligence and misuse of money? Are you blaming these people of their incapability or mishandling of the issue of terrorism and insecurity? Is that what you're saying?
The commander-in-chief is the wrong one. He's not interested. He's not leading them. He's not appointing the right people. If you are going to criticize people that they are unfit for the job, you have to ask who hired them. And if the person who hired them is the person who hire people, who puts square pegs in round holes, or a short peg in a deep hole, so the peg is lost. So the president is the commander-in-chief, and is the wrong commander-in-chief. So you have the wrong service chief.
I will quiz you a bit further on this. We have to go on a quick break. Prince Adewole Adebayo Esquire, former presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, is with us, assessing Mr. President's 2 years in office. We'll be right back after these messages. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. This is Hard Facts, and I am Maryann Okon. Stay with us.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Ever since Grandpa Swag retired, he's gotten quite active. You might find him making jollof rice for the family, or doing 50 push-ups a day, or busting some moves on TikTok, or going shopping with his favorite grandson. He's also experimenting new things like pairing Ankara trousers with a white shirt and a cool pair of sunglasses.
Oh shit, keep that, Grandpa's wine.
We believe that the fun begins at retirement. That's why Hares Life has designed the Hares Annuity Plan, a pension plan that pays you a monthly income for as long as you live. This way, you can enjoy retirement and experience life all over again. For this and other plans, visit www.hairsinsurancegroup.com. That is HEIRS, or call 0700 434 7754 to get started.
All right, class, settle down. Today, let's talk about how you started your day.
We got dressed and had pancakes with John Vance 3-in-1 chocolate for breakfast.
My mom makes John Vance 3-in-1 chocolate for us too.
My mom calls it instant goodness. My sister and I always put it inside our pap. It's so yummy.
John Vance 3-in-1 chocolate is a chocolate drink made of rich cocoa, milk, and sugar. Available nationwide in stores. John Vance 3-in-1 chocolate. Enjoy instant goodness.
Mommy! You want to watch YouTube?
Not my phone again. Every time YouTube.
Mommy, we want to watch YouTube.
You want to watch YouTube? Not with my phone. Go and watch TV.
But there's no YouTube on our TV.
That's before. With the new Airtel Smart Router, for just 25,000 naira, you can watch YouTube and more on any TV. Even our own TV.
Really? Yay! Thank you, Mommy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Turn any TV into a smart TV with the Airtel Smart Router and watch Nollywood movies, football, and lots more on YouTube with unlimited data for 30 days. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Success is like an aeroplane. You only see the graceful flight high up in the sky, but not the roaring, powerful engines propelling it. Likewise, in the world of e-payments, you only see transactions done, funds remitted. But who pioneered these financial technology solutions? Well, you knew it as Value Card, now Unified Payments, Nigeria's premier financial technology service provider. Yes, it starts here. Find out more at www.up-ng.com. Unified Payments, unifying businesses for people.
When it comes to winning, I get power plenty. The power to win bigger than your hand with BetKing Bet Builder. Download BetKing app, register with promo code FreeBets. Make you enjoy 100 naira instant bonus. Terms and conditions apply. Not for persons under 18 years. Play responsibly.
This taste na banger, this taste na creamy rich, this taste na new Nescafe, original 3-in-1. Thickness, enjoyment, yumminess, happiness, delightfulness, deliciousness, smoothness. This taste na new Nescafe, original 3-in-1.
Enjoy more creamy richness with the new Nescafe Original 3-in-1 in the new pack. That's strong, finish strong.
Feeling under the weather? Tired of getting sick? Immunase from Vitabiotics can help. Immunase is a supplement packed with vitamins and minerals like vitamin D, zinc, and selenium that support your immune system. With Immunase, you can boost your natural defenses and fight infections, reduce your occurrence of illnesses, enjoy faster recovery, and better energy levels. Immunase from Vitabiotics, trusted partner to keep you healthy. Available at pharmacies near you.
What can your bank do for you?
Meet Jane, 25 years old. She's been having troubles acquiring a loan from her bank.
This is not okay at all. I've been on this queue forever, and you're saying I should fill another form. What's going on?
What can your bank do for you?
Meet Frank, 27 years old. Held up in traffic and making fruitless transactions.
Mama, I have saved the airtime, even the electricity charges. I don't know why it's so difficult making this payment.
Introducing Safri, a lifestyle digital bank that's designed just for you. With one click, you can make easy and fast payment transactions, pay bills, and even acquire easy loans. Hurry and download the Safri app on your Play Store. Visit safrisafri.com for more information. Safri, borderless banking.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
This is Hot Facts on Nigeria Info 99.3 FM. My name is Shegwa Rinze.
We're back. It's still Hard Facts, 99.3 Nigeria Info. I still am being joined by Prince Adewole Adebayo, ES. I don't know why I want to say Esquire and I say ESQ. Anyway, he's a lawyer. He's also a former presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party in the 2023 presidential elections. And we've been looking at Mr. President's midterm assessment. Of course, we're looking at education, infrastructure, security, the economy, but we were talking security before we went on the break. Mr. Adebayo, you made a claim that we have the wrong commander-in-chief. A lot of people will disagree with you because our president was sworn in legally and he's the commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, being that he had more votes than the two other candidates who came right after him. So right behind him, I beg your pardon. What do you mean by we have the wrong commander-in-chief?
I'm not saying he's not the commander-in-chief. I'm saying it's the wrong one.
Who's the right one?
If you have a doctor adopting, the right one is the one who will keep you safe, who will give proper commands to his troops, who will select professionally minded, not politically minded security provisors, who will ensure that they investigate crimes promptly, who will ensure that communities are kept safe. So you can have the wrong driver if he keeps losing his car keys, if he keeps running the car into culverts, if he fails to service the vehicle. It doesn't mean that it's not the owner of the car, just that it's the wrong driver. So the commander-in-chief we have is the reason why we're having a lot of mischief in the land. So that is not his work well. If you think he's doing his work well, try and travel around the country. Try and call your village where you come from or town and ask them how do they sleep at night. Try and tell your mother that you want to travel from Lagos to Abuja at 9 p.m. and see how they will be speaking in tongues. So on your behalf. So it tells you that the commander-in-chief is the wrong one because he's not doing the job. He only uses it as part of his appellations and accolades. But to sit down and do the job is not. That is why his own security advisor will tell Nigerians that we should rise up. And if you rise up now, they will say you want to overthrow the government and start shooting at you and arresting you. So, I think President Tinubu might have done better by choosing Showore as Minister of Defense. If rising up is what is the solution. So, Moyele Showore should have been made Minister of Defense and police combined. Nobody knows how to rise up more than that man.
Okay.
So the whole thing won't be taken seriously, but they don't ask you to rise up when they are spending trillions. Over 2 trillion spent on security. And I read the budget. I don't see rising up budget inside it. I don't see the amount of money allocated for rising up. So they are not serious.
All right, let's talk.
Serious situation.
Let's talk about the power sector, which also seems to be a principality of sorts. I have had people call this show to complain about lack of power and how it has destroyed the businesses that are barely surviving under this very terrible economy that we found ourselves in. Mr. Adewole has recently said that it'll cost us at least $10 billion to have 24 hours power. They are also saying that they want to cut the subsidy in power. And so we were cut into bands. But that still did not solve the problem. Why do you think that the issue of power has continued to persist?
I think that President Tinubu's power policy can be summarized as all power belongs to God. That's all. He has no other plan. So he's just hoping that Nigerians will start solving the problem by themselves by buying solar panels, by cutting firewood, by using lamps. And they don't have a plan because remember they came up with this band A, band B, like a music band. And no electricity is coming out of that. Now they abandoned it. The person he says is Minister of Power, the gentleman, I don't know if he goes to work at all. Because if he goes to work, he will probably know the number of transformers in Nigeria that are not working, the transmission lines, the problems that the discos are facing, the transmission company itself. If you look at the way they are managing their transmission lines, just go to Oshobo and you'll see the secrets. Go to Shiroro, go to Eddie, where we have our hydros. Go and find out what's going on at Egbe. And where we have our Tama. If you see all the drama they are doing in Paris over Pillar, it shows to you that they practically don't know how to run power projects. Power projects are a multifaceted infrastructural design project. Then project management skill at the highest level is required to manage these projects. They are not able to budget properly. That's why the gentleman just had a birthday wish for a $10 billion thing. I think he said that, Adewole said it because either he's looking for money to campaign for election, either he's looking for money to campaign for election, or he's just telling us an amount we cannot afford so that we can leave him alone.
I'm more curious. I'm more curious because recently I had the DG of the Rural Electrification Agency in the studio, and I've continuously followed the work that he's done. How come he's more successful in empowering rural areas as opposed to what Mr. Adewole is doing with power sector in general?
Well, I don't know how successful he is. But did he tell you the percentage of rural areas that have electricity coverage? And how did he cover them? Which transmission line, which discos serve rural areas in Nigeria?
So they're mostly using they're using different sources of power supply as opposed to just the transmission companies and the gencos.
Maybe instead of you allowing to come to your studio to make claim, maybe you should follow him to the rural areas, and you speak to the rural area people who live in the rural communities, whether they have electricity or not. Majority of rural communities don't have power. Remember, a rural electrification plan is based on having social electricity pass to the communities, and they ought to have the feeder pillars and all of that. They ought to have all the feeder pillars and all of that financed and brought to the rural community, and local governments and other lower tiers of government were supposed to play a role in the distribution of power to the rural communities. None of these things is taking place. They can bring you anecdotal evidence of some communities where they have made pilots. I'm not saying that gentleman is not a good man, but I'm saying that he's giving you anecdotal evidence of sample communities. Before you can say you have done a job that will serve rural communities, at least you should cover at least 1/3 of the community. There are 774 local governments in Nigeria. How many of them? And there are 8,000 wards. And let me tell you, a ward is equivalent of a village. And does it have? Can it tell you that 4,000 out of these 8,000 wards have uninterrupted electricity? I have given electricity to my community that covers 22 wards. I've given them electricity by giving them street lights, by giving them some power in some area for basic industrial production. I've given them transformers, and I've seen that these things cost a fortune. And I look at the budget of that rural agency, that budget cannot serve even one zone, Nigeria at all.
Okay.
So that is the idea, that tokenism is not good enough.
Okay.
This government overall lacks proper planning, lacks an ability to follow a set plan with discipline, with metrics, with timeline, and with accountability.
Okay.
Not just slogans.
All
That
right.
is the problem that they have.
All right, we have people who want to call. They have questions, they have comments. We want to take those calls, and then hopefully you can help us to answer the questions that are coming. The lines are open. Lagos. We're also live on Facebook.com/Nigeria Info FM. This is Hard Facts, and we're still assessing Mr. President's 2 years in office, the achievements, the problems, and of course, looking forward to solutions. 0201 277 0993, that's the number to call. 0201 465 7190, or you can join the conversation on WhatsApp 080959 Post a comment on our live stream on YouTube and on Facebook. We would love to hear from you. 60 seconds, go straight to the point. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Dami.
No, Dami, you can't call the female line. Thank you. Do call the male line. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Yeah, good evening, Maryann.
Good evening.
It's Emmanuel. I'm speaking to you from Ekwe.
Go ahead.
The banditry in the north, especially, is linked to the mineral resources. And I very much believe that the mineral resources is enough to change this country. What would be the approach of your guest if the president, or if he's a future president, in terms of laws, policies, to curb this stealing of our minerals and then using it for the people, and then in terms of security of the environment, how will he deal with these mineral resources? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. Unfortunately, our guest has dropped off the line. Hopefully, he'll get back to us, and I will ask that question. All right. I think he has joined us again. I'll try as much as possible to ask that question. Prince Adebayo, there's a question for you. A caller is asking, most of the problems in the north are because of natural resources. And he's saying, if you were president, how would you handle the situation?
These natural resources have been there for a long time. They are not just there now. The issue is that there's a reason why we have government at 3 tiers. We have government at 3 tiers. And if you have government at 3 tiers, you want to make sure that each tier has its own layer of security.
Okay.
The problem they have is that they centralize security, not just in terms of command, but in terms of doctrine. So what we need to do is to make sure that the doctrine is that every level of government has access. Right now, they've taken one move, for example. They wanted to do forest guards because most of Nigeria is a rural community.
Mm-hmm.
Many places where these minerals are in rural communities. So they are coming with these forest guards. But they did not consult local governments. They did not consult state. They just came out and said, we are doing forest guards. And these forests are in communities where President Tinubu does not know where these locations are. Some forests in Nigeria are bigger than some states. So a forest in Borno State is as good as Enugu and Imo State combined. And there are some local government like Dekina in Kogi that is half of a place like Anambra State. One local government, Dekina local government. So If you don't work the things out, there are measurements and dimensions that they ought to have. I'm a miner, and I can tell you that when we do survey, we do spatial survey, we do geodesic survey, we do all sorts of survey that will show you how the land is. But Nigeria can spend reasonable amount of money and have a version of security mapping that will cover the whole of Nigeria. Even drones, you can create grids out of Nigeria and use drones to patrol 4 square miles. If you divide Nigeria into 4 square miles, and you can use drones to do area coverage of these areas, and you can do it and get the reporting, get the feeding. But it means that some of the policemen, 25 who are following one commissioner or governor, some of them will have to be trained and redirected to monitor and receive the feeding for all of those things.
Okay.
That is what they are not doing.
All right. Let's take a few more questions. Prince Adewole Adebayo is still with us as we assess Mr. President's performance so far. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Good evening, Maryann. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Jonathan is my name.
Uh-huh.
I would have loved you to bring Gary back, but unfortunately he's not back.
Well, he said he will be back soon, so don't worry. He will be back.
We are expecting him. Because, to your guest, the one of the major thing we are facing, we are not producing anything in this country. And that's why Forex is dealing with us seriously. I'm asking him now, what is the one singular thing he will do to encourage manufacturing in this country? One singular thing that he will do that will make a manufacturer explode in this country.
But he's not your president. He's not your president, so how can he do that?
Well, I thought he's positioning to become a president when you are interviewing. That's what I'm.
Well, he was a presidential candidate in the last election.
That was what I was even expecting. That maybe I should wait for him, but I tried calling him today.
All right.
I couldn't get through.
All right, Mr. Adewole, if you were to be president, what's the one thing you would do to revive manufacturing? Because I always tell people that when I was a little girl, one of the excursions I went for as a kindergartner was to what we used to call the match factory. We used to have a matches factory in Calabar, and then there was the paper factory where you had exercise books and newspapers and all of those things produced there. I think it was called Okwiboku back in the day. But all of those things died just before I became a proper adult. And how do we revitalize all of those things?
Where to revive manufacturing, there are 4 pillars. So that one, you must make energy available for power. Electricity is important. Infrastructure is important. Port management. All the inputs that you need to bring into the country to do, all the inputs you need to bring into the country to power industries that to do that. Finance is important because industrialists can't pay double-digit interest. They can't pay 35% interest. Taxation has to favor productivity. Then you need to train manpower and make the manpower sufficient for industries, which means that the government has to ensure that there's an industrial policy whereby you get discount, you get rebate for the number of people you hire to work for you. So that there will be a bias towards labor-intensive industries. It's a direct policy. That is why some countries invest in tourism. If the Nigerian government doesn't take tourism as a joke, the way they do these days, usually the Minister of Culture or the Minister of Tourism is always a junior member of their campaign. That's the person they just give it to us. Okay, you have tried. You just take this position. But they don't invest in it. There is no standard design for tourism. If you go to Cotonou now, you will see just next door in the Republic, you will see how the government is helping companies from all over the world to set up resorts there so that Nigerians can cross the border and come and spend money on tourism. So if you want to spend money on industries, you have to make sure that agriculture works, because agriculture and agro-ally is the feeding point for raw materials. And where people need ginger, they need cassava, they need cocoa, they need so many other inputs to industrialize. If agriculture is not practicable, how are you going to set up industry here where you import the machinery and the raw materials are not accessible? So those are the things. I'm an oil palm owner. If you go to my farm in Agbede, thousands of hectares. But you have to provide your own security. You have to provide your own road. You have to provide the mills that we put there. So, and there is no amount of savings you can make. The inflation in the economy is eating into your capital. So go and read. Go and talk to Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. I've addressed them. Talk to NASEMA. They will tell you the cost of doing business, the cost of finance, the multiple taxation and overregulation and misregulation, and the fact that the government of Nigeria itself does not patronize Nigerian industries. So when you combine all of these factors together, that's why industrial production is low.
Okay.
Basically.
All right. Because of time, I'm just going to go read some messages right now quickly because I have just barely 2 minutes. I would have loved to take a call, but I cannot because of time. Let me just read some messages that are coming in. Okay. Ken here says, my question to your guest is, don't they forward these suggestions to the president instead of saying it on the radio? These ideas sound so easy on the radio until you find yourself on the hot seat. Every boxer has an idea until they get punched in the face. Femi is directing this to you, sir. And in a minute, if you can respond to us before we wrap things up.
Well, unless the caller is assuming that our problems are intractable, they cannot be solved. Why are other countries solving them? Well, what is difficult about the job? You know, and I'm happy that I used the expression. I'm a boxer. I've spent many years as a boxer. I don't just get punched in the face because I know how to guard myself. So the key issue is that if you don't know boxing, you get punched in the face, and that's because you don't know your posture, you don't know how to guard yourself. In politics, if you are not fit for the job, and you get coronated for the job, you are going to live a lot of sorrows on the streets.
Okay.
So people who admire people being governors need to realize that apart from the ceremonial aspects of being sworn and signing and all of that, that it's actually a management position. And you must be familiar with the subject matter, and you must be capable of recruiting the best hand. And to give advice to the president, I give advice to him all the time, but you have to be careful not to be too close to them, because people might mistake you as trying to go and join them.
I've got to go.
So give advice to the media.
I've got to go, unfortunately. My time is fast spent. I want to say thank you, sir. Because of time, we have to go. Hopefully, we can drag you into the studio one of these days. Prince Adewole Adebayo is a former presidential candidate on the platform of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Lagos. That's where we live it. Tomorrow is another day. Don't forget, the president is going to be marking 2 years in office come May 29. What can you say? Mr. President has done well in the past 2 years since he assumed office. My name is Maryann Okon. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, MIMIEYO. Follow Nigeria Info on all of its social media handles. And I'll be back here tomorrow on Hard Facts. Bye-bye.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this. Success is like a big
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than